Welcome back, friends, and thank you for joining me. I just quickly wanted to say that today's episode of Nameless may look a little different than you're used to. We're experimenting with format a little bit. Nothing is set in stone yet. I can explain why if you're interested in that in a separate video, but for today, I really would like the focus to be on the case at hand, so let's get into that. So I stumbled upon today's case while reading an article on AL.com titled 7 Strange Jane and John Doe Cases in Alabama. When I read the portion on the Opelika Jane Doe, it stood out to me for a few reasons. The victim was a female child discovered relatively recently, back in 2012, and police actually have released a photo of a girl that they believe could be their Jane Doe. But despite having said photo, no one has come forward, and she and her killer remain nameless.
Someone starved her, abused her, killed the child.
Police still don't know who she is or who left her there.
Whoever killed baby Jane Doe remains unpunished.
Someone somewhere knows something about baby Jane Doe.
So far, we have not come up with a name.
We still don't know who she is.
Every time we say the name Jane Doe, it just, catches in the back of your throat. You wanna call her by her name.
This case starts in Opelika, Alabama. It's January 28th, 2012, and the inhabitants of Brookhaven Trailer Park on Hearst Street are just waking up when one of the residents' sons wanders into a vacant lot behind their home. In that lot, he stumbles upon a human skull, and immediately the police are notified. They come out and scan the area, but don't find any more evidence yet. 2 days later, on January 30th, investigators from Opelika and Auburn Police, the Lee County Sheriff's Office, and Lee County Coroner's Office return to scour the area again and expand their perimeter. Unfortunately, they don't get very far before they find a mandible, or lower jaw, several other bones, and hair in an adjacent wooded area near a creek. Police spend hours painstakingly gathering evidence in the area, wondering how a body found its way to an obscure copse of trees in a trailer park in a town with a population of about 28,000. Lee County Coroner Bill Harris speculated that the skull may have been separated from the other remains via an animal. However, we can't know for sure how they ended up in two places or where the rest of the remains are, but accident, animal, or whatever forces brought the skull into the trailer park, we might not know about Jane Doe had it not happened. She may have never been found. Authorities have taken to calling her their own baby Jane Doe, and their first step was to send her remains to the medical examiner's office at the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences in the capital of Montgomery. The autopsy results only deepen this tragedy. Lee County Jane Doe, Opelika Jane Doe, baby Jane Doe, however you refer to her, was just a child, and her short life was plagued by suffering. A dental analysis of her underdeveloped teeth showed that she was black and between 4 to 7 years old. The size of her skull possibly indicated she may have been younger than the estimated age, or that she had a disability, but forensic bone tests pointed to another possible cause: malnourishment stemming from neglect and abuse. Baby Doe had extensive bone injuries and damage to her left eye. Sergeant Richard Converse of the Opelika Police Department said to CBS News, "The type of injuries explained to us would have been very debilitating. It's really horrible. They have ruled her death a homicide. Now, when authorities don't elaborate on things like injuries or cause of death, it's usually for two reasons. They usually either don't have the specifics or they keep them under wraps to maintain the integrity of the case. In Doe's case, not sure which it is, but regardless, what we do know publicly is homicide and nothing beyond that. And due to her state of decomposition, we also don't know baby Jane Doe's height, weight, or eye color. Authorities did find a long-sleeved pink shirt with heart buttons and a ruffled neckline close to the remains, but it's unknown if they belong to the child or are related to the case at all. What we do know is she had medium-length, black, tightly curled hair. Her teeth were smaller than other children of her age range, so they may have stood out or looked slightly off. And based on the autopsy, police believe she may have had signs of physical abuse on her face and body, maybe lacked good hygiene, or appeared sickly from neglect. The medical examiner also determined that baby Doe likely died sometime between 8 months to 2 years prior to being discovered. Once the results of the autopsy came back, authorities go public with the announcement of the murder, which, for obvious reasons, shocks the community of Opelika. Within the first week of finding Jane Doe, the FBI joined the investigation and sent baby Doe's remains to their crime lab in Quantico, Virginia, for further testing. And while they are able to extract DNA, there are no matches in their database. Authorities canvass the neighborhood, the area where her remains were found, speak to local schools, the Department of Human Resources, pediatric clinics, hospitals, the Department of Child Services, anything for a school registration or a birth record, but there is no link to our Jane Doe anywhere that they search. So, how exactly does that happen? How does a child go undocumented by every system we have in place to make sure everyone is accounted for? Well, Sergeant Richard Converse told CBS News, "I think this child was not exposed to the general public, and that's possibly why she was able to go unnoticed. Remember, our Jane Doe was neglected, abused, and malnourished in life, and unfortunately, I don't think it's out of the question for a child to go unnoticed by social services and the general populace if they have no record of their birth certificate, if they aren't registered at school somewhere, if they're kept inside pretty often, don't socialize with other people, or are left at home for long hours at a time to fend for themselves. Or it's entirely possible that no friends or family had Jane Doe's best interests at heart." 6 months into the investigation, FBI agents release a 3D reconstruction of what Doe might have looked like based on her skeletal remains. The images were distributed by local news outlets, but unfortunately, no major leads came of it. Years pass with no new information, and police still haven't narrowed down the timeline the remains were exposed to the environment before being discovered. Interestingly, though, residents at the trailer park reportedly told police that in the fall of 2011, they recalled a decaying smell coming from the area. That would have been a couple months prior to baby Jane Doe's discovery, but if they are connected in some way, we don't have the concrete evidence to link them yet. 4 years into the investigation, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, referred to as NCMEC, worked with the Lee County Coroner's Office to draw up another composite image of their nameless Jane Doe. They released these new images in late August of 2016, and not long after, police get a call from a woman who has chilling information and pictures. The woman was a teacher during Vacation Bible School, or VBS, for the Greater Peace Church for the summer of 2011. During that summer, she recalled a particular child between 4 and 5 years old that bore a strong resemblance to the recent composites released by the NAMELESS, and she provided authorities with these photos. According to the teacher, the young girl had an unkempt appearance. She was quiet, seemed to have trouble communicating with other children her age. In addition, she told authorities the girl had some kind of deformity to her left eye and was possibly blind in it, which is slightly visible in the photos. This especially caught authorities' attention. If you'll recall, Baby Doe also had some kind of damage to her left eye, a fact that they'd yet to publicly release. While this information gave police hope that they were on their way to identifying the little girl, the tipster could not remember the girl's name, and 5 years have passed since those pictures were taken. Authorities reached out to the Greater Peace Church and local schools, again, hoping for some sort of record of the girl, but they came up empty, so they took the information to the public, asking for anyone who recognized her to please come forward. While researching this case, I noticed a couple of people on Reddit posing the same question. How does a child attending Vacation Bible School go unregistered? How is there no record? How does no one recognize the child? And how does no one know the parents of this child if they attended this church? There were a couple of responses kind of detailing how VBS sort of operates. Funny username 1 says that VBS will send vans or buses into surrounding neighborhoods, and that parents who don't attend the church will send their kids to the VBS as a sort of free daycare. User Lisa Greenhouse adds that some churches will have an open door policy, letting anyone from the public walk in with or without parental supervision, and that they advertise free programming. Through my research, I found that some churches will charge a fee, but for many VBS programs, it's free. Obviously, we don't know that this applies to every Vacation Bible School, but it might explain why no one recognizes the girl in the photos. Maybe she lived in one of the surrounding neighborhoods and got on a VBS bus or walked in on her own. Not to mention that Jane Doe's bones tell us that she was malnourished and neglected. VBS will often provide free snacks or a free meal to those in attendance. Perhaps she was sent there or found her own way there for a free meal, or really just some interaction with a human outside of her own home. But again, I want to reiterate, while police believe the girl in the photos is Jane Doe, there's no way to know without a doubt that it's her, despite the similarities in appearance, location, and circumstance. In February of 2017, authorities announced that DNA and isotope analysis tests conducted by the University of South Florida Institute of Forensic Anthropology and Applied Sciences revealed that baby Jane Doe was native to the southeastern portion of the United States, most likely Alabama, where she was found, or the surrounding states. Sergeant Alfred White, who's been on Baby Doe's case since 2014, said the following in a press conference.
Whoever did this to this child lived in this trailer park and is from the area. This area is not someone where an outsider would stumble upon, find, and dump a body at. It's going to take someone watching this news conference or seeing her picture and getting the courage to pick up the telephone to say something.
They don't explicitly comment on Doe's geographical origins, but they believe the killer was local or someone familiar with the area at least. And still, the case has yet to receive any resolution. It's clear that law enforcement and the community are dumbfounded that no one has come forward. Captain Bobby Kilgore has emphasized to the press that this case is an absolute priority. It's not something that they sideline and pick up when things get slow. Unfortunately, that seems to be the case with a lot of John or Jane Doe cases. I don't live in Opelika, but I'm glad to know that the police there are taking it seriously And from Sergeant Alfred White's comments, it is abundantly clear, in my opinion, that they are absolutely outraged.
We need to find out her name, we need to give her a proper burial, and we need to settle this case. I find it hard to believe that no one in Opelika knows who this child is, who went to a church here in Opelika, a small city of 25,000 people, and no one knows who a one-eyed black female child is. Nowhere in the city of Opelika. I find that hard to believe.
In March of 2018, a reward of $5,000 was approved by Governor Kay Ivey for the case, a number that was matched by a local citizen, bringing the reward to $10,000. At the time of filming this video, there's no identity exclusions listed on NAMELESS's website. Baby Jane Doe was a black female somewhere between 3 and 7 years old, and authorities found a long-sleeved pink shirt with heart buttons and ruffles along the neckline close to her remains, but we don't know if it's related to Jane Doe or not. She had some kind of deformity or damage to her left eye, possibly caused by being malnourished, neglected, and abused in her life. She died from homicidal means, and police believe it's highly possible this girl is their Jane Doe, but have no information on her name. If you know who the girl is in the photos, or have any information on Jane Doe, the circumstances of her death, or her killer's identity, please contact the Opelika Police Department Investigative Services Division at 334-705-5220 or the Secret Witness Hotline at 334-745-8665. As always, a special thanks to the Patreon family. In light of the demonetization of most New Dark Matters and Nameless episodes, their financial support is crucial for the channel's mission to spread awareness of these cold cases, including ones like the Opelika Jane Does. And if you are interested in helping that cause and becoming a patron, information is in the description, but even if you continue to support by watching, as always, that is greatly appreciated. Thank you for giving Baby Jane Doe a moment of your time today. If I'm infuriated, I can't imagine how the Opelika Police Department feels right now. So keep in mind the suffering of this community when you make your speculations and your comments, and try to remain respectful. And you guys are always great about that, so thank you for that. To those who live in Alabama or near Opelika, I highly encourage you to share this on your social media accounts. You never know who might know something but just isn't aware of the case. And more specifically, if anyone has any information on or pictures on the Vacation Bible School from 2011 at the Greater Peace Church, please contact authorities. Someone has to know something, and hopefully one day we can call Baby Jane Doe by her true name and bring her killer to justice. No child deserves to only know suffering in their lifetime, and if Baby Jane Doe couldn't even have that, she couldn't even have a life free of suffering, the least she deserves is to have her identity back. Thank you for watching the video. Alabama viewers, please share it on your social media accounts, as exposure for Opelika Jane Doe is highly important. And thank you for all of your continued support. Stay safe, friends. Have a good holiday, and please have a good night.